Everyone warned me not to go looking for room 873. It's not on the hotel map. There's no plaque. And when you walk down the hallway where it should be, the room numbers skip 872, then 874. But I'd heard the legends online. A murder, suicide, a family wiped out, and a little girl whose blood-stained handprints kept reappearing on the mirror, no matter how often they were cleaned. I didn't believe it, of course. I booked 875 just to be close. That first night, I went out late for ice. The corridor was quiet. Too quiet. That heavy, old-fashioned silence found in places that hold their breath. As I walked back, I stopped in front of the section where 873 should have been. The wall there looked newer, slightly off, repainted, too clean, almost like a cover-up. I tapped on it. Hollow, then I heard it. A thud, a light one. Then, a scratching sound, like fingernails on wood. I leaned closer, holding my breath. On the other side of that wall, something dragged itself across the floor. I stood frozen for what felt like minutes. Then a child's voice whispered, directly behind the wall, "Don't go." I stumbled back and ran to my room, locking the door behind me. At 3:17 a.m., the lights flickered. The mirror above the dresser had fogged up, as though someone had breathed on it. Only I hadn't even moved. Slowly, as if drawn by an invisible hand, a message appeared on the glass. "Let us out." Then came the knocking. Not at the door, at the mirror. From the inside, and just before the mirror shattered in a scream of glass, I saw a face, bloody, eyes hollow, mouth wide open in silent agony. I checked out before sunrise, told no one, but every night since, I hear knocking behind the walls of wherever I sleep. And sometimes, just before I fall asleep, I hear a whisper, "Room 873 is waiting." It was supposed to be the happiest weekend of my life. My sister's wedding at the Banff Springs. The whole place was like something out of a dream. Vaulted ceilings, chandeliers, velvet carpets, sweeping staircases. The kind of hotel that feels like it remembers things. The reception went late into the night, and while others danced or drank, I stepped away for air. That's when I passed the ballroom and saw it. The lights inside were on, casting a golden glow through the cracked doors. But the room had been empty just moments before. Curious, I pushed the doors open. She was there, a woman in a yellowing wedding dress, standing motionless in the center of the ballroom. Her veil hung like gauze, her arms lifted slightly like she'd just been dancing. At first, I thought she was a mannequin, a leftover decoration or prop. But then she began to move, slowly, gracefully. She spun in a slow circle, her feet hovering just above the ground. Then she tilted her head and looked at me. Her face was broken. The skin hung off one side like melted wax. Her mouth was unhinged, her jaw slack and fractured, with teeth cracked and missing. But her eyes were full of rage. She started gliding toward me, not walking, floating. The chandeliers above flickered violently, and the music began, scratchy, like an old record player melting in hell. As I backed away, the doors slammed shut behind me. She opened her mouth wide and let out a scream that I felt in my bones. No sound, just pressure, like gravity had been inverted. I collapsed to my knees, then it stopped. Silence. When I woke up, I was on the hallway floor. A hotel manager was shaking me awake. "Miss, are you all right?" The ballroom's been locked for years, but when I looked down, my shoes were coated in dust, and stuck to one was a small, brittle rose, dried, dead, yellowed, just like her. I travel often for work. I've stayed in countless hotels, sleek ones, haunted ones, historic ones, but nothing ever shook me like the Banff Springs, not until I met him. I checked in late. Around 11 p.m., the lobby was quiet, but warm. A bellhop appeared out of nowhere and offered to help with my luggage. He was tall, soft-spoken, wore a perfectly pressed vintage uniform, brass buttons, red trim. We chatted about the weather. He asked if I'd ever been to Banff before. I said no. He smiled and said, "First visits are always memorable." He led me to the elevator and pressed the button for the 7th floor. His hand lingered just a little too long. When we got to my room, he placed my bag gently inside. "If you need anything," he said with a slight bow, "just call for Sam." That's when I noticed something. The corridor behind him didn't reflect in the room's mirror. He did, but the hallway was just empty. I turned to say something, but he was already walking away, straight toward a blank wall at the end of the hall. And then he walked into it, not through a door, just disappeared, like mist into drywall. I stood frozen. Later that night, the television in my room turned on by itself. Static, a low hum, then a voice, whispering through the noise. "You forgot to tip." I left a $5 bill on the nightstand. In the morning, it was gone, and on the bathroom mirror, written in perfect cursive inside the fog, were the words, "Thank you." I never saw Sam again. But ever since, when I check into a hotel, any hotel, the bellhop always looks just a little too familiar. Every haunting has a witness. You've just become one. Subscribe and never be alone again.